All right.
Welcome. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Montessori Midweek Livestream. We're very happy that you've taken time to join us today. And I'm very happy to be back today. I was out of town last week, but I really enjoyed listening to Mary Ellen and Candace talk about Mary Ellen's story and the founding of AIM. And if you missed that live stream last week or any of our other live streams, you can head on over to our YouTube channel and watch them anytime on demand. And you can also scroll down on our LinkedIn page or our Facebook page, and those recordings still exist. So you can always watch them, even if you miss the live event. So today, we are thrilled to have with us Lucy Gibson of Positively Simple UK. And welcome.
Hi, Lucy. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so very much, Caroline and Candice. It's so exciting. Thank you.
She's a Montessori certified teacher and also a home organizer. And our topic today is, I think, one that is going to be relevant not just to Montessori guides, but to Montessori families and to families in general. So, this is a good one. This is to everybody. So one of the most common questions that Montessori teachers and administrators get from parents and guardians is, how do we support our child's Montessori education at home? What can we do at home to help make this work, help this Montessori journey? And one of the most successful ways you can do this is to prepare your home environment to support the philosophy of Montessori. And that sounds overwhelming.
Just a bit.
But luckily we have Lucy here, and she's going to give us tips and tricks and teach us her ways. But before she does that, Lucy, will you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into Montessori and how you got into home organization?
Yes, definitely. So I was born and raised in Brazil, as we spoke before, but I've been living here in the UK for the past basically 5 years now. So I started my career in education back home in bilingual and international schools. And it was kind of like by accident that I got into this industry. I was attending university and doing something completely different back then. But then I started falling in love with education, and I saw that it just felt larger than life. So it kind of felt like I was on a mission with those children. It has always been early years, basically. Basically my 15 years of experience in the classroom has been basically with 3 to 6 year olds. And I have always seen so many influences and so many things in common between these schools where I worked at, because I wasn't just in one school. Whenever I felt like it was time for me to make a change, I would just follow my heart and find another school. And they were always amazing schools. And there was always something in common, all of these schools, they always had lower shelving, and everything was open. But none of them called themselves Montessori schools. But I knew that there was something about them that really inspired me. And I was like, okay, so I need to find out what's happening here. And even when I finished my first, when I got my first university degree in social communication, media studies, it had absolutely nothing to do with education. And then I started taking my second degree, that one in education. Even then, they wouldn't explain really well what was Montessori education and how I could see it in the classrooms where I was working at. Mm-hmm. So when I heard from a colleague of mine that she was taking a Montessori, she was doing the Montessori training, the MACT Montessori training, I just immediately said, I have got to do this. Where is it? When do I start? Who do I need to speak to? And then once I started my training, and if I'm not mistaken, the MACT training in South America, I'm pretty sure that São Paulo is one of the fewest throughout the entire of South America. And luckily, I'm from São Paulo. So I was like, oh God, that was just absolutely brilliant. So when I started taking my training, everything just fell into place. So all the missing pieces of the puzzle, I was like, so that's Montessori. I just had the concept and I just couldn't voice it. I just couldn't tell where that came from. And it's funny because even some teachers, because I had always been as as a TA first, obviously, and then as a teacher, I would always encourage children to become independent so much that even like some people within the same school, they kind of thought that I was being mean to the children, because like, why are you making them do this? Why can't you do it yourself? And I'm like, because they've got the potential for it. They've got the skills for it.
Mhm.
So it just felt like it was my duty to teach them and to help them achieve that. So when I found Montessori, I was like, oh, thank God, that's my people. Like they get me and I get them. And now everything, I just felt complete.
That's amazing.
That's such an amazing story. I have to add, I want to tell you, so I have a teaching degree as well. I'm not using it, but I have said that I think I'd still be a teacher if I knew Montessori and I understood Montessori, because I wasn't taught that either in the university system. And I think that it would have been such a different teaching experience for me if I had been able to explore Montessori. So I feel the same as you. Like I had this deep like yearning for something different in the classroom. So
100%. And that's something that it just feels like every teacher should hear about it, because we're always lacking something. Right. We're always like our teaching training, or like when you go to uni, they don't actually teach you how school life is going to be. They just give you all the content and all the curriculum, but that's it. And like the most important part, they just leave you to it.
You just have to figure it out.
just do whatever you can.
Yeah.
Just wing it.
Yeah.
Do your best.
Exactly. And it's hard.
It is crazy hard. It's crazy hard. Yeah. So
how did you then get into the home organization and that part of your world?
So that was fun. So after so many years working in working in schools, even here in the UK, after I moved to the UK, I carried on working at Montessori schools, and I just felt that I could do something different, especially after COVID. So like when COVID hit, I just felt I was already like feeling a bit deflated with the whole school system. So when COVID hit, I was like, okay, so maybe it's time for me to reinvent myself. And the beauty is, here in the UK, you can. Back home, I would probably be stuck in my career, but here you can actually reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, okay, so I've got some skills, I've got the knowledge, I've got the training. What can I do with it that doesn't involve working again in a school? So I thought to myself, I was like, okay, so I'm all about Montessori. I'm all about positive discipline. And how can I bring these two together in the home environment? So I just added the missing piece to it, which was home organization. So I thought to myself, well, I'm going to start working in children's spaces at home. But in order for that to happen, first, I would have to organize the home. So it's all about preparing the space first, isn't it?
Yep.
So the part of preparing the space, it's kind of like a pre-preparation to the space. So that's the homework, because it's so many houses, they're so cluttered. And part of the chaos in a family life, part of the chaos in a child's life comes from their home environment, because it's so cluttered. And people, they just don't, sometimes it's so hard for them to see the link between them. It's like, oh, why do I not love my home? But they don't, sometimes it's just so hard for them to see, oh, it's because of the clutter. Why do I feel so overwhelmed? Oh, it's because of the clutter, or like because my systems are not working for me or for my family.
Yeah.
So that's when I thought to myself, okay, so I'm going to become a home organizer as well. So, I did my training, I got certified. And then, and that's how it started. So,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I love that.
I love the connection between the two, because I think we don't recognize it as much as we should. That the Montessori environment functions so well is because everything has its place and because it is so prepared. And imagine how well our homes could function if they were similarly prepared. So I love
That's it. Yeah. And I think because in the classroom environment, it just comes kind of like so naturally to work in a clutter-free environment, especially when we're talking about Montessori classrooms. So when we bring all of these concepts to the home setting, we kind of like even forget, like, oh, wait a second, maybe that home is not even prepared to take in all the Montessori concepts. First, we just need to, like declutter and organize, and then work on, like bringing all the Montessori concepts and positive discipline as well, obviously. But first, we just have to get organized.
So in my house, we have a small craft room. Like, we call it our craft room. It's not large. It's maybe like 5-6 feet by 6 feet, but it's like the kids' spot. And a couple of weeks ago, I noticed this every year about this time. They stop using it because in the winter in Montana, we're inside a lot and it gets very, very messy. Well, I had a burst of energy and I decided to clean it out, and I got rid of like 7 giant black garbage bags.
Yes.
And guess what? They use it all the time now. And
that's it.
Like, they just needed less stuff. Everything, like you said, has a place. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a beautiful space by Montessori standards, but it serves its function. And we do Legos in there and like, but yeah, it was just like less stuff, and
ta-da!
We use the space again. So
that's it. Because once you have actually edited your space and you only keep what really sparks interest in that child, then they can see it, because or else they just see like one big lump of toys. Or it, like everything just kind of like feels it's like just one big block of things. Whereas like if you work on toy rotation and just keeping very limited options exposed, then the child can actually see what's out there, and their attention is just drawn to it. Again, just like in a Montessori classroom, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And then, like, I think parents wonder if they're going to know when their child is done with something, but you know when your child is done with something, like engaging with it. So
that's it. That's why toy rotation is so, so important, because then you keep on kind of like recycling what you've got in a way that really brings out the best of that child's interest.
What practical tips do you have for toy rotation, or any other advice for managing children's clutter?
Yeah. So first, so to begin with, I would say, as you said, Candice, have less. We think that children need to have lots of toys and lots of resources and lots of activities and lots and lots and lots. It's actually having less. So being minimal in terms of being really, really intentional about the things that you're keeping in your home. I think that's paramount. If you want to have a functioning space and you really want your child to be able to explore a space the way that they should and learn from it, you have to have less. So, and obviously, like, I would always steer clear from those flashing plastic toys. Just try to entertain you in the craziest way, but then at the end of the day, it just brings nothing to the child, does it? Yeah.
It's horrible for the adults too.
It's a nightmare. It's an overall nightmare, isn't it?
They think they like it, but
they think they like it. But once you give them something that is really meaningful and that they feel that they are, because many times the reason why we give children toys is just because we want to isolate them, because we've got other stuff to do. That's why, that's why parents and like anyone in the home setting, if they've got a child in that space, and it doesn't necessarily need to be parents, it can be carers or family members, whoever's got that child in their home, they're going to resort to TV or to an iPad, lots of screens, and just, like toys that they think the child is going to spend a large amount of time just, like kind of like entertaining themselves, while the adult takes care of prepping meals and doing the laundry and tidying up.
Yep.
And just doing everything for the house. But once you see that children, they can be our best helpers, and they thrive, and they feel so important, and they feel like they belong.
Yeah.
And it's magical. So it's like, we really need to break that concept that chores equals punishment, because it's not. It really, really isn't. It's like chores is pretty much like the pathway for you to learn life skills.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're going to follow us for the rest of our life. It's like dishes, they're always going to be there for us. Laundry is always going to be there for us. We're always going to have to make our beds. That's always going to be a part of our lives.
Absolutely.
So why not presenting the child something that they will be able to use their whole lives, right? So I always tell my clients, I say, like, look, what I'm trying to give you here is all the tools that I have in my toolbox, so you no longer need me ever again. That's pretty much the concept. It's like, I'm just gonna give you all I've got, and then
you're gonna work yourself out of a job.
Yeah, well, but you know what? There's plenty of people out there who need my help.
Yes.
And I'm fine with it. I just want to be generous with them, because I don't want them to ring me or to be in touch with me saying, oh no, but my house is a mess again. And I'll tell you what, I feel so happy when I see clients whose I don't know, whose kitchen or whose playroom. There's this one client, I did her son's playroom over a year ago. I got in touch with her a couple of weeks ago, and she said, like, it's still tidy. He still uses the room. So it's not like it was tidy because he never walked into the room anymore, but it's just because the system worked. So yeah, so like basically that's what I need. Am I going to put myself out of business? I don't think so, because there's way too many people on the planet who need my help.
There really are.
Yeah.
You can come to Bozeman anytime.
I would love
just
So we're talking about, less stuff and everything else, but how do you balance creating a calm and inviting atmosphere in your home with the everyday realities of family life? Like, we have stuff that we need. We ski and play sports and swim. We do all the things. So like, how do you give parents and families advice on how to balance those things?
So when I think about balancing this atmosphere, I always think about routines. So if you've got the right routines for your day, then you will be able to create a balanced atmosphere.
Absolutely.
And then, like, when it comes to creating routines, we are always talking about giving yourself and your family time. You have to have time to process information, to learn how to get all those things done, especially children. Sometimes, like, one thing that we ask them, as in, like, can you get dressed for school? But that one ask has so many steps to it.
It does.
So it's like, how are we going to do it? So first of all, like, you have to give them time, and you have to start scaffolding skills in order for them to be able to do it by themselves. So that's number 2. Number 3, I would say, like, we have to prioritize tasks and chores. So, and that comes from, can we declutter our calendar? Do we need to have all of those activities going on in one week? Is there anything that we can just like cross off our calendar so we can also give ourselves more time? Or else our daily life always feels like a race.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're always racing towards the next appointment or the next commitment in the next activity, and it never ever stops. So I would say like calendar clutter is real, people.
It is.
It's real, and you have got to prioritize. It's like, what do you want? Like, do you need to have that many social events, or do you think that maybe, like cutting a few of these short and having more family time or more quiet time, some downtime? Do you think that's something that could help? If the answer is yes, just go for it. Because at the end of the day, all that we want is to have time.
And I think parents these days have a lot of pressure, at least American parents, to like get their kids involved in so many things. And I think that we need to take a step back and realize that sometimes that's overwhelming for not just the kids, but also for us as adults, because we have a lot on our plates too. So I love that decluttering the calendar idea.
Yeah, it's just so important, honestly, because we know about like the stages of development, and especially like when they're about 12 years old, like preteens and teens, they really have to have like more social activities. But even then, it's like, how many social activities can you have per week without taking a toll on your mental health, your peace and calm, your family routine? So everything needs to be balanced. We need to have all of them, but everything should be, like just balanced and having like a healthy amount of these activities in order to create a calm and inviting atmosphere for the whole family.
I have to say this, what you're saying right now resonates so deeply with me, because my husband, we have a 9-year-old and a almost 8-year-old, and my 9-year-old, we accidentally signed her up for too many things. She was doing swimming, and we ski on the weekends, and she was racing, and we were traveling. And so the last 3 months have been insane. And we made the decision for going into spring and summer here in Montana. Those are precious, precious seasons to us. And so she's doing no activities. And she had a whole list of things she wanted to do this spring. And we explained it to her. We're like, we just need time as a family. And it's been crazy. And we want to go camping and do these things. And she was like, okay. And that is that is not a normal response from her. And so I just think that she was feeling that deeply as well, and needing to slow down a little after a very busy season.
Yeah, definitely 100%. And like when it comes to having bigger children, always make sure that they're part of the decision-making process as well. As in, like, which are your favorite activities? Which ones can we just leave aside for now so we can have some good quality family time together? So making sure that they are part of the decision-making process, that's huge. That's huge. Yeah. Wow.
There's nothing worse than having to force your child to go to something like every week, reminder. It's just such a horrible argument to have.
Yeah, it's like, I want you to do your ballet classes because you have to be a princess. It's like, no. And then like the little girl, bless her heart, she just wants to play football.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So it's really, really hard. It's like, just try to follow again, like how Montessorian is that? Follow the child.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Follow the child, and then you find the answer for it. Definitely.
I love that. We were going to ask you about following the child's interest, but we already talked about it and how important it is and how lovely it is.
Yeah, well, pretty much, right? So I mean, just like, again, like there's so many things in common between a Montessori classroom and a Montessori inspired home. You can bring so many things from one setting to the other. So basically, like, when you say like follow the child, just really, really just observe your child. Be very attentive to what you're seeing, not being judgmental, not trying to push them into a direction that you feel is right, but really, really trying to see what are they trying to speak to you. What are their interests? What are they showing you? Again, like I had a client who has an autistic son, And he was all about trying to dismantle things. And she kind of like wouldn't let him do it. So she would present him with toys so he could play with those toys. But then I told her, I said, like, look, if you really observe your child, he's trying to tell you that this is what he likes. These are his interests. He likes to dismantle things, and he likes to see what things are like on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you prepare a few things for him to intentionally dismantle?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then again, like, everything clicks.
How did that go? I mean, did that work well for her? Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it did. It did.
Right.
It did. Because again, like, sometimes it's just like having a fresh pair of eyes and everything changes.
True.
So I'm so glad she briefly mentioned that to me, because I was actually just working in her living room, nothing to do with her children. But then, like, when she told me about her son, I was like, okay, let's take a little detour here. I think we've got like a bigger fish to fry. And again, like, I loved it because it really, really changes everything, because the child doesn't feel pressured to do something that they don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And they feel seen, and they feel valued, and they feel understood.
Right.
When you present them something that they've been telling you, this is what I like, but they're not telling you with words, they're telling you that with actions.
Right.
So yeah, it's life-changing.
I love that.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about, I mean, obviously you have your website, but if someone's watching this and they connect with you and what you're saying and click, what resources do you have on your website? And then what resources do you provide in the UK? What kind of things do you do?
Yeah, so like, when it comes to services, I basically offer two main services. So one of them is the home organizing service. It works for anyone who wants to get their space sorted, so they don't necessarily need to have children. And then the other one is the positive discipline and Montessori at home mentoring. Naturally, you can use both services together.
Yes.
Right?
Of course, yeah.
Ideally, that's how it would go. So, and both of them, the beauty is both of them can be done virtually as well. So wherever you are in the world, Lucy's here for you. You know, and it works. Like, I do mentoring for people like in many places. I've got this lovely client who's in Brazil back home. And again, like, it's been life-changing for her and for me as well, because I'm learning so much from her as well. So there's so many things that we can do even from a distance.
Yes.
So yeah, and then, like, if people can follow me on Instagram, that's basically where I hang out most of my time. And you can see so many little tips and tricks that I give on Instagram. So, like, I'm always trying to share something either inspiring or something practical that they can do at home or in life in general. So there's always something that you can learn from it. So yeah.
And your handle is positivelysimple.uk, right?
.uk.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
And Lucy just wrote a blog on her blog, and it's also on our blog. So if you head over to our blog, you can hear more tips, like really detailed. It's a 10-minute read, so there's a lot of information there. And I hope we get to work with you again, Lucy, because I think we all are inspired by you and could use some more of this in our lives.
Yeah, as I said, it's like, I admire you guys so much, and I'm so happy that we got to collaborate in such a positive way. So, hey, you know where to find me. I know where to find you.
Yes.
And yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be wonderful. So yeah, like, feel free to be in touch with me whenever you want. And then I'm always here for you guys, because, you know, like, it's like-minded people, and we're always helping each other. So I think that's great.
A beautiful thing. So it's just such a natural collaboration. We just met each other on Instagram and started talking, and then
it's like the stars aligned.
Good. Yes.
Yeah. That's it.
Thank you for joining us, Lucy, and we'll be in touch really soon. But honestly, if anybody wants to get in touch with Lucy and didn't see her website, comment on this. We'll put a link to her website, visit our blog. reach out to us and we'll put you in touch with Lucy so you can learn more from her. And we hope that we see you all on our next week's live stream.
Okay.
And thanks for joining us today, everyone.
Thank you so very much. Have a great one.